Yeah, I pretty much did. Linda Bloodworth Thomason, I think, is extraordinary as a writer. She just knows small town, and I grew up in a small town in the South. I knew the guy. I grew up with so many guys, just like the guy I play. You know, I know so many of those guys now. You know, in a lot of ways, I am one of them. you know, that's, you know, I knew it was special. Yes, I did.
Were you originally signed for the long run, or was that just going to be a couple weeks work?
No, I was signed for a long run. The way the deals on our show, though, were constructed, since it was a group of people, of actors who have long careers in the theater, for instance, and who have many interests outside of television, the deals were constructed in such a way that if we needed to buy weeks during the year to go off and do other projects, it would be allowed. But I knew that I was in there for, like, you know, 10 out of 13 for each season. Next. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of stunned. I feel like I've been kicked in the head.
Did you take it to work with?
No, I wouldn't do that. No, that's, well, because work is work. This is a party, you know. Work is for work. You know. It's one of the most delightful and easygoing places I've ever been in my life. As a matter of fact, some people around work seem to think it's a little too easygoing. We have a real good time. We use a lot of film. Well, our budget goes way up because of some of the fun that we have, and no, it's a great group of people. It's a great group of professionals, actually, because when it does come down to the bottom line, it's a group of people for whom the work is the most important thing, and that makes it a delight. It makes it possible for us to play, you know, when there's a little extra time to play. What can I say? You know, I hit the actor's lotto, you know, with this show.
You made such a big splash on Broadway and Grand Hotel, and now you're a TV star as well. What's the difference in the nature of TV stardom?
Well, you know, Broadway, the theater community in New York is such an insular little community. The difference too in the work is that when you have a theater audience every night, they are the mystery actor, because the audience is going to set the pace of the show. They're going to determine your rhythms. They're really going to determine how well the show goes. Doing live television, you have some sense of that because, you know, there is an audience, but you're only playing a scene at a time. But the big difference for me is that when you're doing theater on Broadway, you have an immediate sense of your audience. You have an immediate sense of the impact of the work. You have an immediate sense of the communication that's going on. And for that moment, for that performance, that group of people, actors, technicians, audience, support staff, that group of people will never assemble again in the history of time. So it's a unique, it's an extraordinary, you know, it's an inimitable experience. With television, you don't really get a sense of who the audience is. You know that there are millions of them out there, but you don't really know who they are. So television in that sense, though it's great fun to do in the little community setting that we have on Stage 17 out at MTM Radford, you know, it's a kind of a lonely, it's a lonely way to work because you don't really have a sense of what kind of contact you're making with people. But I love doing it. It's an extraordinarily difficult thing to do. When I was in theater, you know, I was one of those sort of, you know, stuck-up kids, you know, when I first got to New York thinking, you know, oh, who would want to do television? But now that I'm here and doing it, and now that I realize how difficult it is to work so fast, to grind them out so fast week after week, I have a great respect for people who do it well, because it ain't easy. You know, it's hard.
Mike, when you're doing theater, you obviously have an audience's reaction to balance your level of comedy off of. How do you, how do you know when you've been right on this show?
Well, again, you know, since it is live television, since it is a live audience there, we do have that sense. But we've also, I have the pleasure each week of working with a group of other actors who are so incredibly supportive. I mean, there's none of that competition crap. Nobody's pulling any diva things, you know. No one's, you know, there are no fits. No one's pulling, you know, no one's kicking the wardrobe people out of the dressing rooms and having little tantrums. When we're working together and it's cooking, we know it just by looking into each other's eyes. And like I say, it's the privilege of working with a group of people who already have long, very well established careers. Their self-worth, their mortgages, those things aren't contingent on the success of this series, so we all have, really the luxury of just getting to play. And if you ever get the opportunity to sit and look into Charlie Durning's eyes when you know you're doing it, when you know it's working, he reflects it. His face glows. Bert's face glows. Elizabeth Ashley. It's a group of people who are rooting for you, and we root for each other. And I hope it shows in the work because we have a great time with each other. I'm falling in love with all these people. It's